First off, let us know how long you guys have been preparing Australian cuisine here in Kansas City.
Yeah, so we've been in business since around December 2017, so a little over 18 months, and it's become pretty popular.
I was unaware you could get Australian cuisine, authentic Australian cuisine here in Kansas City.
Yeah, I actually brought a veterinary pharmaceutical company to Kansas City a few years ago and retired from that a couple of years ago, and my wife basically said I had to get a hobby because I was annoying her. So here we are.
What have we got here on the pan that's working and frying here?
Okay, so breakfast is a bit of an institution in Australia, I guess, and when we came to Kansas City, certainly we enjoyed the diners, the American food here, but we thought we were missing some of the Aussie things. So today we're going to have corn, zucchini and cilantro fritters, which is one of our famous dishes here. So I'm going to start plating that up. So we have the fritters that we actually make gluten-free as well. Gluten-free is a big thing
So
these
it's
days.
corn, zucchini, and what?
Corn, zucchini, cilantro, which we would call coriander in Australia, but I'll say cilantro for the Americans. It's got a bunch of spices in there, some smoked paprika, some cumin. We then use whey. We make our own ricotta here that we use in some ricotta hotcakes.
Oh, wow.
And we use the whey instead of milk so that it keeps it sort of largely dairy-free as well. And you know what? All those things actually add taste to it as well. So it's always great when you can accommodate different people's dietary requirements as well as make things pretty tasty. So then we're going to hit that with some avocado, and obviously avocado is a pretty tropical fruit. We get a lot of that in Australia, so a lot of dishes have avocado. With a little bit of salt.
Very generous with the avocado here too, right?
Yeah, we are at $2 an avocado at the moment, wholesale. I should be putting the price up, right? So we can hit that with a bit of cilantro as well, which gives it a nice fresh flavor. And then on top of that, we have a nice egg. Now that's a nice sunny side egg, but of course we can do it however you want. And then we are going to hit that with a couple of strips of nice crispy American bacon. I do have to admit, I think American bacon is better than Australian bacon.
Okay.
Okay, and then we can just garnish that with a little bit of cilantro. And there we go, we're ready to roll.
That is the biggest breakfast I think I've just about ever seen. So this is just a normal everyday breakfast for an Australian?
It is. Well, there would be alcohol involved as well. So, and we do serve mimosas and Bloody Marys here downtown as well.
Can I get my Foster's can and just set it right next to it?
You can. Actually, I'll go and grab one for the next meal.
Okay, we're ready to go then. There's breakfast down. Foster's. It's Australian for breakfast? Well, hey, in a bit, an Australian twist on a Cuban sandwich. Belinda. Kansas City. Now, last time we showed you the Aussie breakfast. We got that out of the way, and now it's time to move on to prepping lunch at Banksia. Our Cuban sandwich looks like it's starting like a normal Cuban sandwich you'd expect anywhere, but where does the Australian twist come in on this sandwich?
So a lot of the food we've done here, kind of my style of cooking, is having experiences around the world and then trying to put my kind of spin on that or recreating a dish I've had somewhere. So a Cuban sandwich is a pretty classic, staple, especially of Florida and states like that.
Yeah.
Here we take some of those influences, so we confit a pork shoulder, and confit means to cook it really, really slowly in oil, and we have a ton of spices on that. So a lot of your classic Caribbean spices, ginger, cloves, mustard, cumin, things like that. So we bring a lot of the flavor into the meat, but then we have a slightly healthier take on it maybe. So we're going to start with some pan levain, which is a French sourdough. We bake all of our breads in-house. We're a bakehouse as well as a cafe.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to hit that with a little bit of mayo on one side, a little bit of honey mustard, and then we're going to get a little bit of spinach on that. So that pork has got just a ton of flavor. Now here we also take red cabbage.
It looks super soft too.
It is, yeah. So it's being confit, so it's being cooked for many, many hours at a low temperature, and then we're just warming it up in the pan when we're serving it. So this cider braised cabbage is a red cabbage. We use a tart apple cider.
Wow.
And then we use a little bit of balsamic, there's a little bit of onion, a little bit of garlic in there. We're going to give that a good press. We're going to serve this with one of our famous salads. On this plate, we're going to hit a little bit of arugula. Okay, we're going to hit that with some quinoa. We use a white quinoa, which obviously quinoa kind of seems to be the craze at the moment.
It's the hip thing to put on your food.
It is, but it's a pretty nice tasting thing. We're going to get a little bit of mint on there.
Oh, wow.
And now we're going to hit it with a couple of tricky things. So some macadamia nuts, okay? And of course they're Australian macadamia nuts. We're going to get a little bit of watermelon on that, a little bit of avocado onto that. So the sweetness of that watermelon with the saltiness of, first of all, the salt, and then we're also going to hit it with what we call halloumi.
Halloumi.
So halloumi is a Cypriot or a Greek cheese that you can heat.
But it doesn't melt.
And you can fry, and it does not melt. That's the beauty of
Wow.
it. Okay, because the flavor of that is pretty incredible.
Oh, wow. That's a meal and a half just about there, Rob. And as you heard Rob mention, there's also a bakehouse in the next half hour. We're going to satisfy that sweet tooth with the Lamington. It's a famous Australian sponge cake.
So I've got an earth-shattering question for you, Bill.
Oh.
Have you ever messed up in the kitchen?
Never. Perfect all the time. Just kidding, I have, and it didn't turn out this good. Rob over at Banksia explains how a goof in the kitchen led to a famed Australian dessert. It's on to something sweet, which is the Lamington.
The Lamington.
And as you were saying, this is a very typical Australian dessert, right?
It is, yeah. The Lamington is a cake, I guess, something I kind of ate as a kid. And of course, we're both a cafe as well as a bakehouse, as I mentioned. So we do a lot of Australian bakery items. We do a lot of classic French pastry as well, but of course, it's better when an Australian makes it. Right?
Obviously.
So for the Lamington, it's a sponge cake typically, or originally it was a Victoria sponge, very light, airy sponge. But I think if you're going to eat dessert, there's no point eating air, right? So we make ours with more butter because we know butter makes everything better. That's right. Okay, so I've already cut this in half. We're going to take the sponge and we're going to layer that with some raspberry jam.
Oh, wow.
So we get a good liberal coating of that. This will make me about 6, so they're kind of a cube. So of course that's perfectly in the middle. Very good at that. And right there.
All right.
See, who knew I'd be able to just eyeball things into thirds?
Very geometrical. Well done.
Very good. Okay, so then we're going to take one. Let's take this one here, and we are going to plunge that into some chocolate sauce. All right.
Look at that.
Okay. So then we just sit there and wait for an eon while that.
How much of that
drains.
chocolate does that cake soak up?
Look, not a lot. So normally we would just stick that onto a drying rack, and I'm going to cut one open for you in a minute so you can see.
Okay.
And then we're going to toss that in some coconut. Ooh. Okay. Now, the original story was that Lord Lamington, who was the governor of the state of Queensland, was having people for afternoon tea. Word went into the kitchen for the chef to make a dessert, and he made a Victoria sponge, dropped it into some chocolate sauce, didn't have time to make another one, so he made the Lamington.
And that's what
he said, Lord Lamington, this is a dessert I've named after you, and of course flattery will get you everywhere.
Yes.
So the Lamington was born. So that was in the 1860s. And then there we have it, okay?
And you got your
so
two
we've got
pieces.
the jam in the middle with the vanilla sponge, chocolate sauce, and rolled in coconut. It's pretty good, huh?
I got a mouthful of cake.
Yeah,
I can't
I'll
say
tell
that.
them how good it is, in case you were going to say it's not good.
No, I wasn't going to say it's fantastic. And something else really cool about Banksia is that they're going to be featured on Food Network's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives August 16th. That's 8 o'clock here in Kansas City. So,
well, Bill, wouldn't you want a dessert named after you? I mean, that not only looked amazing, but the story behind it, awesome.
I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to order the Hurlbrink off of the dessert menu.
Maybe an ice cream flavor, I don't know. Throwing a softball there.
I'll take the Hurlbrink, please, for $200. No.
Okay.